I visited two local shops recently. The first one was right here in Minnesota, but it was the first time I'd been into the store. The second one I visited while on vacation back home at the Jersey Shore. And today, I'll show you what I got. Check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name's Chris, and this is Northgarden Comics. So my family and I just got back from vacation, and when we were planning it, it was really kind of a last-minute destination to go back to New Jersey to hit the beach to visit family. Won't go into the details about how that came about, but when we were doing so, I knew, of course, that I wanted to hit up comic stores if I could while on vacation, but I wasn't sure which ones, how many, would I even have the opportunity. I did get some recommendations from fellow YouTuber No Good Comics, Justin over there, the host of that channel, and he gave me a couple stores to check out, and unfortunately I wasn't able to hit those stores just because of where they were located and where our vacation destination was taking us, so I'll have to save those for a future visit. But I was able to hit up one store while I was there, and then when we got home, surprisingly, there was a sale that I saw on social media posted by a local shop here in the Twin Cities, and it was the day right after we got back, and you know that post-vacation feeling, you're just tired, you just want to do nothing. And fortunately, I had a day to do nothing before going back to work, but I wasn't sure, do I really want to go out, hit up a comic book store, go to a sale? And I hemmed and hawed, sat on the fence for a while, and ultimately decided to go, and I'm so glad that I did, because I came home with a good chunk of 50-cent books, and I even got a key, not a major key in the comic world, but it's a minor key, but it's significant to me because this comic that I got, and I paid up a little bit more for it, it allowed me to complete an entire volume that I've been working on for years. So I'm really excited to share that book with you, and we'll get to that and all the books I got in just a minute. But first, let me pause and say, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on that video and giving it a try. I hope you see something that you like. If you like comic and comic related content like back issue hauls, new comic book hauls, all those kind of things. I'm also a big Transformers fan, and I like to show some Transformers things in my collection. So if you like any of that kind of stuff, please take just a second, hit that subscribe button. And then for all of you, as you watch, if you see something you like, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And please let me know your thoughts and questions down below. Now that we've got the housekeeping out of the way, here's how I want to break this down, because I do have books from two stores to share with you. I'm going to tell you first about the New Jersey shop, and then I'll show you those books, and then I'll come back on camera and I'll tell you about the Minnesota shop, and then we'll spin the camera around like I normally do, and I'll show you those books from the local shop here in the Twin Cities, and then we'll wrap things up. So the first store was in New Jersey while I was on vacation. It is called Comic Relief. It's located in a town called Toms River. The cool thing about this store is that though it was under different ownership, this was my first brick and mortar local comic shop that I visited when I started getting into comics back in the late 80s. And there were a couple different locations for anybody in that area. There was one in the Seacourt Mall down there in Toms River, across from where the Ocean County Mall is and where Toys R Us used to be and things like that. And then there was a second location in Lakewood, and it was, I don't remember the name of the street, was it just Main Street? But it was near the Strand Theater there in Lakewood, and I don't remember if he had any more locations, but those are the two that I remember visiting as a kid. But now it's under new ownership. The owner's name is Anthony, and he just bought the shop back in January. And I'm glad he kept the name because that's just familiar to me and has that nice nostalgic vibe. And he's in a different location and still really just getting things set up. But it sounds like things are going pretty well for him. He's got new comics, and the day I went was the day before he was unveiling his back issue section. So he's just starting to carry some back issues. And so unfortunately, because I was a day early, I did not get to take advantage of any of those. But he did have probably, 20 long boxes of dollar comics. And he had those prices kind of tiered so that way the more you bought, the cheaper they got. And so I came home with a handful of books from his shop, and those are the ones that I'm going to show you first. What I will say though is if you are in the area and want to check out Anthony's shop, there will be information or links to the information for Comic Relief down below in the description of this video. But let's go ahead, turn the camera around, and I'll show you the dollar books I got from Comic Relief. Once again, these are going to be the books that I picked up from Comic Relief in Toms River, New Jersey. There's only 6 books here, and the way the pricing worked was if you got 6, you got them for $5. So it works out to be about 83 cents a book. I definitely could have gotten more books, but my biggest constraint was time, honestly. He had about 5 long boxes of books that were alphabetized, so I was able to get through those pretty easily. But then he had up at the front window probably 15-20 more long boxes of more randomly assorted books, and they were definitely more, you know, recent back issues, some current things, and I regret not being able to dig through those more slowly. I had to go really fast just to be able to get through them all and get eyes on at least each box. But for example, one thing that I remember seeing were a few different issues of the relatively recent Dead Man Logan 12-part series, and I have 1 through 11, but I'm missing part 12. And I did see issue 1 in there and a couple other issues, and so there's a good chance that there was an overflow copy of part 12 in one of those long boxes. But like I said, I was just short on time, so I couldn't go through them as slowly as I would have liked. But if I had, I'm sure I would have come home with more books. But even without that, I'm happy with the things that I found. Starting off here with Captain America. This is number 283. This is a really cool Mike Zeck cover and interior art. Just love the color combinations on this one. And so that was an easy grab to get things started there. Then moving over, I did find a few Fantastic Four books. If you've watched some of my other videos, you may have heard me say, you know, I'm not working on getting the whole volume of Fantastic Four. I am working specifically on the John Byrne run of Fantastic Four, and, you know, kind of in the 200s there. But whenever I see lower issues, like sub 200 or anything prior to that John Byrne run, if they're in decent shape and they're cheap, then I'm still happy to pick them up. I have always been a sucker for the era of books from Marvel where it has this Marvel Comics Group banner across the top. I always thought that was cool, and so the Bronze Age books, I don't know, they're growing on me more and more over time. So I picked up, I think, 3. I got issue 136, 148, and then 207. That's a cool Spidey cover there, and Human Torch. Then, like I said, there were only 6 books I got, so there's only 2 left. The next 2 are modern books. You know, this is Ascender. This is number 2 from Ascender. If you have not read the first volume from this creative team called Descender, it's pretty popular, so I'm sure most of you have probably heard of it, but if you have not read it, it's definitely worth your time to hunt down those issues and read. Pretty much easy to get all of those issues. It's a 32 issue run, and it's a sci-fi story. The only one that's kind of harder to get, or that you have to pay up a little bit for, so it's not hard to get, it's just you got to spend a little bit more for it, is issue 1. But I finally crumbled and bought the Image First copy of that, so it's like a $1 book. Cover price for that. It's a reprint, so I could read the whole series, and so glad I did. I think I got every issue except for that number 1, every issue in that volume for like 50 cents or $1 a piece. So it's easy on the budget, but a great story. And all that to say that Ascender is a follow-up. It continues the story. I don't know, it may be a certain number of years into the future, but a lot of the same characters coming into play. And this one, though, instead of being a sci-fi story, is more of a fantasy book. But I only had issue 1 from when that came out, and I figured at some point I would collect the series, you know, just find them as back issues, and this is my first step toward that, and getting issue number 2. And I think, I don't know how many issues it's in right now, or frankly, I don't know if it's still going on right now. I'd have to check, and if I find something out, I'll put it on the bottom of the screen there. But so far, just got issues 1 and 2.
And then final issue I got from Comic Relief is this Cyclops series that ran from a few years ago. Gosh, what was this? Maybe 2016, 2017 kind of time frame. It was during the period of time while the teenage original X-Men were living in the present. So Beast had seen where the X-Men today had gotten off track as far as what their original mission was, and he thought, you know what, if I go back in time and I bring our original teenage selves from the past into the present, maybe Cyclops in particular and some of the others would see how far astray they had gotten and what their original purpose was, and it would kind of shock them back to reality. Well, of course, that didn't go according to plan, but you could read about those adventures in All New X-Men, and that was when Michael Bendis was writing that, and there's some great art in there by Stuart Immonen, things like that, but this spin-off series comes during that time, and teenage Cyclops, who, you know, if you know Cyclops' story, didn't really get to know his father growing up, by his father being Corsair of the Starjammers, and in this series, the teenage Cyclops from the past is in the present, and he goes off with Corsair and the Starjammers, and I don't remember, this went for maybe, 12, 15 issues, somewhere in that range, not too many, but I thought it would be cool to read at some point. This first one is penciled by Dodderman, and, you know, where I really got to know him on Mighty Thor when Jane Foster was Thor, and now he's doing, he does a lot of the covers for a lot of the X-Men books right now and things like that, but thought I would give this series a try, and like I said, this is my first introduction into that. I'll read this one, see if I like it, and then decide if I want to keep going, but likely I will. I just have always loved the character of Cyclops. He's one of my favorite X-Men, even when he's made stupid decisions and done dumb things, but at the core I still like him. So it's not $2, this was just a $1 book, but again, bought 6 for the price of 5, and so about 83 cents a piece. So that wraps the books from Comic Relief.
All right, so those are the books I got from Comic Relief in Toms River while on vacation down at the Jersey Shore. Thanks again to Anthony, and just great talking with you, talking about comics, talking about your business. Good luck with everything. I am definitely going to be visiting again the next time I'm in Jersey. Now, we're going to shift gears and get over to this Minnesota shop that I just went to the day after I got home from vacation. And the name of this store is called Heroic Goods and Games. Again, I'll tell you a little bit about the store, but links to their information will be down below in the description of this video. And the reason I checked out Heroic Goods and Games the day after I got home, even though I wanted to be sitting on my couch vegetating and doing nothing, is because on social media I saw that they were advertising, they were doing what they called a pop-up comic sale. And they have a lot of board games, figures, other kind of video game type of merchandise. And they have some comics, and they have a section of comics, but they were advertising that they had a bunch more comics, like 3 times the normal amount that are on the store floor, that they were bringing out from the back room to try to move some inventory, and it was just that one day. And so I really didn't want to not go to that. So I drove to Minneapolis and hit up this sale, and they had some regular priced as marked back issues, anything from $1.99 to $9.99, $29.90, all different prices based on the value of the book. But then they had probably 5 or 6 long boxes of comics that were just 2 for $1, so 50 cents a piece. And I came home with, I think, a total of like 19 books, and it's in this pile that I got that really cool to me key that allowed me to complete a volume that I've been working on for years. And I do want to say as well, thank you to Paul. It was great to meet you. Paul is the owner, or one of the owners, of Heroic Goods and Games. Great chatting with you, and if you are in the area, definitely check them out on social media, check them out when they're open, and go visit their store, see if you can find some cool finds like I did. So once again, let's go ahead, spin the camera around, and I'll show you the books.
All right, here we go with the books from Heroic Goods and Games. Most of these books, and all except one of these books, were 50-cent books. And so you'll see none of them are bagged and boarded. It was just kind of hodgepodge of different things, but sometimes those can be really fun because you may see things that you don't normally see at other shows or stores, things like that. A lot of the books that are popular, they continue to fly out the door. And so I don't know about you, but a lot of times when I go into shops or different local shows, I see a lot of the same back issues. But when it's a collection like this, and he had these in inventory for who knows how long and pulled them out and was selling them $2 for $1, you can find some interesting things that you wouldn't normally find. And this top issue is a perfect example of that. This is the Batman Strikes. It's a reprint of the first issue that was done for Free Comic Book Day back in 2005. And the reason I picked this up is because I really enjoyed the animated series called The Batman. And it was the one that the theme song was probably my favorite thing about it, where Edge, or The Edge from U2, wrote the theme song. And I thought that was super cool. Loved hearing that. And then Joe Matsuda did the character designs and was influential in the kind of the animation style. And I like the animation style for Bruce Wayne and Batman and some of the villains and things. So those drew me to that show. But I enjoyed that. I'm actually rewatching a lot of those now because that series is available for streaming on HBO Max. But this here was the comic book adaptation of stories to do a comic book version. This volume ran for like 50, it ran for 50 issues. I don't have any of them, but I'd like to start hunting for those. I don't really see them ever. This is the first time I've seen an issue from this at all. And again, it's a reprint from the Free Comic Book Day, but I was happy to have that. And this actually looks like it adapts one of the TV shows where the Penguin is the villain, but it's got that animated style to it. And yeah, just looking forward to get it. If I can find these for cheap, I will. It just seems like a cool little run that reminds me of the TV show. So that was one of the first things I found. So I was happy to find that. Then this next chunk of books is actually all Transformers. I was very happy to find these. I did a recent video where I showed all of the Dreamwave era of Transformers books. And though I do have all of the issues from Dreamwave, I don't have all of the variants. And normally I wouldn't go after all of the variants for a title. Marvel, for example, that's a crazy endeavor to have all of the variants. There's just too many. But with the Dreamwave era of Transformers, they typically just did an A and a B cover. And what started me wanting to get some of these variants is that a lot of the covers, when you put the A and the B together, you get a connecting cover. So that makes it a little bit more unique than just a straight up variant. So I thought it'd be cool to add these, and when I can find them like this for 50 cents a piece, that's a pretty easy decision, and it's a low cost way to add those extra pieces of artwork into my collection. And I think there's 8 or 9 Transformers books, and most of these I think most of the ones I needed were the Decepticon covers. Maybe I had the Autobot, but a lot of times they called one cover an Autobot cover, one Decepticon. But like you can see on this is from, I think this is the first volume, but even this one is, is this one? Oh, this is a wraparound in itself, yeah. So we can show you. And then I think it may connect with the Autobot cover over here, maybe to the left or something like that. But a lot of these do connect, but Pat Lee, love these covers from Dreamwave. So I got that number 1. The Decepticon cover of number 2, not a wraparound. Insecticon cover on number 3, very cool. Jumping up to number 5 from that same volume, Soundwave and his cassettes. And then number 6 with Menasor on the cover. Like I said, just cool extra pieces of artwork to have from this era of Transformers comics. It really reignited the Transformers franchise in the comics for the 21st century. Now we move ahead. This is issue 1 from volume 2. They did basically 6 issue runs for each of the volumes. This one I think is a gatefold where it opens up. So it's a wraparound. I don't think the back cover opens, but you can see there, this is the Decepticon cover, and then there is a corresponding Autobot cover as well. that I have in my collection already. So there's issue 1, the Decepticon cover for issue 2. And then jumping ahead to number 5, and you can see where this even cuts off. I think the Autobot cover's on this side and may have Ultra Magnus or somebody on the ground. And then number 6. So that does it for the Transformers books. These next books, I guess you could say they're part nostalgia, dare I say part speculation, but not really so much. I don't really buy speculation books because I'm not in comic books to get rich, whether that's in the short term or long term. It's just because I love the hobby and I love to read them. I love the artwork. So I would say at least, yeah, this is definitely more nostalgia, probably 80% nostalgia. But this was a series that ran in the 90s, and you can see it was done by Marvel. Mighty Mouse. Now, Mighty Mouse was an original cartoon character from, you know, talking more like golden age of comic books and animation and things like that. But he was rebooted in the 90s, and I remember enjoying this cartoon when it was on TV. And I've never had the comic books, but this is, you know, based on, let's see, Watch for Mighty Mouse and Friends on TV. So maybe the comic came out just before, but this was like a 8 or 10 issue volume, I think. And I got the first 6, again, for 50 cents a piece. They're all newsstand editions. They're reader copies, you know, they're not super high grade. There's some spine ticks down the side here. And like I said, they were in these long boxes without bag and board. But this is just fun nostalgia, fun to have these, and all the 90s stuff is starting to become popular again. Oh, there you go. Captain Planet for all you 90s kids out there. And that was fun. And another fun fact about the Mighty Mouse series, maybe you could tell just by looking at this, most of the covers were homage covers to other popular comic books. So number 1 homages Dark Knight Returns, and it calls it here the Dark Might Returns. Number 2, I don't think this one homages any cover, so we'll just kind of show that and then move on here. This is an homage to, I think it's like Submariner number 1. It's still, I think, like the 1990 series. Introducing Bat. And then here's a Crisis on Infinite Earths homage cover. Death of Supergirl. And then another Crisis homage in issue 5 there. This is homaging issue 12. What is this one called? Mices on Infinite Earths. There you go. And then issue number 6, not an exact homage, kind of a comedic homage to Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man number 1. So those are kind of fun. Now this one right here, I was never a big fan of Ren and Stimpy. I don't know, but maybe it was just because I was a little bit beyond the the age group at that point. But this one, I'll admit, is more on the speculation side. I don't have the nostalgia for Ren and Stimpy, but it's Ren and Stimpy number 1. Newsstand. It's not like this is a hot book or anything, so please don't anybody go out trying to make this into a big book or something. But again, with 90s things becoming more nostalgic, who knows? Maybe this one will get a little bit of value at some point. Somebody will try to reboot the series. In the meantime, it cost me a whole 2 quarters and doesn't take up much space, so just a little addition there to the collection for now. And then just one last book to show you, kind of nice, since it's a contrast to what you're seeing on camera right now. The last book is my big spend for the day at a whopping $4.99, and I'm so excited about this book because I've said this in other videos. This is a volume I've been working on for years, and I've put all of the issues together except one. And this issue, it's the final issue in the run. I don't recall ever seeing it ever at any price. I don't want to overstate its rarity, but you don't see it terribly often. And you do, so that's why I was willing to spend a little bit more, and it was in really nice shape to boot. So happy to have that, happy to complete the run, and I really just wanted to support Paul at Heroic Goods and Games. So willing to spend a little bit more, which is kind of crazy because it's not much at all, and it's essentially, cover price of a lot of books today. But enough lead up. Here is Excalibur number 125, The Marriage of Megan and Brian Braddock. This is the final issue of Excalibur Volume 1, and with this, I now have the entire volume, and I think it's a gatefold cover. It looks like it may have been in this same bag and board for a very long time. See this, that color transfer there, or that browning on the backboard? This I've seen so many times. This is a one-sided backboard where you're supposed to put the comic on the shiny side, and then the matte side doesn't get a comic. And this is the matte side that you're seeing right here. This is the side that the comic book was on. And so that's a good reason why you're seeing all that transfer up there of color. For now, I've just flipped it over, and now I've put the book back in just on the shiny side, because that is the acid-free coated side. I'm not going to leave it in this bag and board anyway. I will put it in a new bag and board, but just thought I'd show that in the meantime. I'm surprised at how many times I see books put in to a bag and board on the wrong side of the backing board. But we'll move that aside. Here's the book. It's not a wraparound cover, but it is. Oh, okay. So I was surprised. There it is. Okay. They're giving you more information on the inside. Sorry, I thought that was going to be like a cool wraparound artwork to show you. But it's not. It's just that gatefold there. But yeah, very happy to add this to my collection. Like I said, the pages are still nice and white and really good shape. So definitely worth it for me to spend a few dollars more than normal. I didn't want to leave that behind, because now I can say I've completed that volume, and I will do a video here coming up sometime soon where I'll show the whole Excalibur volume from 1 to 125.
All right, that's going to do it for me, and that's going to wrap up this 2 comic shop, comic book haul, one from right here in Minnesota and one from back at the Jersey Shore. Once more, thanks to Anthony and to Paul. It was great to be able to chat with you and to hear about your businesses. And thanks for the books. Great to be able to add those to my personal collection. And to all of you, thank you for watching the video and for checking it out. I do hope you saw something that you liked. If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you've watched this long and you're not yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead, give in, hit that subscribe button. Now, if you're not quite ready for the YouTube fun to stop, I have hand-selected a couple videos here for you to check out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.